Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Lynn Gaudet from Ottawa, Canada. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me on, Mark.
So, how is everything in Ottawa today?
It's very good. It's warm but very cloudy or smoky. Not quite sure.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking earlier that we had smoke here in Nebraska yesterday, and did not know for sure where it came from, but I knew they said Canadian forest fires, and it must be big fires. So always lived in Ottawa, Canada, or where were you born and raised?
I'm actually from the Maritimes. So I'm from New Brunswick, Canada, on the East
Okay.
Coast, and I moved to Ottawa 11 years ago for
Okay.
work. So it's been
Okay.
quite a while.
Okay. So work, what do you do?
I have two jobs. I have my day
Okay.
job, so I work as a public servant for the federal government,
Okay.
and right now what I'm doing is recruitment and development for finance officers for all of the departments and agencies.
Wow.
But I started off as a public servant in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I got
Oh, wow.
transferred to Ottawa. So I did that for a long time, and then just changed departments and changed jobs as you do. And
Uh-huh.
I also have a side passion, I'll call it, so my business on the
Okay.
side that I do in my spare time. And the that business is called All Infinite World. And what we do is just focusing on developing and promoting women professionally to try
Nice.
and get faces out there, careers out there, options, and really build that kind of community.
Very, very cool. So what was the impetus that started that journey? That when you started that?
It was really kind of it was a journey. Um, Growing up, I think a lot of people can relate to getting that feeling that you got to pick something. You just got to pick something,
Exactly.
and you're going to go forward in your life and maybe move up in that career path, and then retire and you're done. So there's a lot of pressure, and especially when you're in
Uh-huh.
high school, university
Oh, yes.
age, to just you pick one thing and then you go
Yep.
for it.
Yep.
And that was really difficult for me. I didn't really know, and I got those high school tests they make you take to see
Right,
like
right. Yeah.
what do you like. So I did that, and it sounded interesting what my results were. So I said sure, and went and took criminology, and I loved it, and
Okay.
moved on in that direction. But then just kind of feeling not fulfilled. So liking
Okay.
my work, but not feeling fulfilled. And that turned into then feeling kind of disassociated, and then feeling um, kind of turning into like feeling unhappy. And that was not something I was comfortable with. It was a very
Okay.
uncomfortable feeling to be, thinking in my 20s, like,
Right.
I don't know about this. Like, I
Right.
want
Right.
things, I want to do something where I have a more direct impact in people's life. I want to have more decision power. I want to be able to move quickly. And working for the federal government is fantastic, but it is not known for moving quickly.
Yep.
So
I can believe that. I can definitely believe that.
yeah, so that was really something that weighed on me. But I went through it for years, and I just kind of like kept on with life. And the whole Mary Kondo tidying up fad came along. Well, fad, it's not a fad, it's very much entrenched in our society. It's very good.
Uh-huh.
But I got the book, I read it, and I started to do it. I went through my stuff piece by piece, and my apartment was full of piles. I was so happy to see like all these new areas in my apartment opening up, but it was just
Right.
like
Yeah.
so
Awesome.
many things to go to
Uh-huh.
donation, which was great. But oh my goodness,
Right.
I only have a one bedroom apartment. Like, where did I get
Oh.
this stuff? Um,
I can remember that one too.
and yeah, as I was doing that, I came across this diary, and I've never been one to write in diaries, so I was like, why do I have this diary? So I'm looking through it, and it's from I was when I was about 10 years old. So it's
Okay.
talking about boys and social
Sure.
events and stuff like
Exactly.
that.
Oh,
Like,
right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing too profound until I got to that last page, and I had written on there. Um, I might be wrong, but I think I know what my purpose is supposed to be in life. I need to be successful so I can help those that need it, like animals and the homeless. And oh my goodness, Mark, that completely blew my mind. I started
Uh-huh.
crying.
Oh,
I
wow.
couldn't really believe that I put that on paper when I was 10, and
Yeah.
then pretty much just forgot about it. And
Uh-huh.
here I was struggling to figure out like what my goals were supposed to be. Like, I knew I wanted to make things better, but it's like, what things am I aiming for, right? Like,
Right,
I
right.
couldn't really get my mind straight on that, and that completely blew my mind. It was like, yeah, well, I felt that for a long time, and those were some really major passions for me. So I could still do something, and that's kind of when I put my foot down of like, I'm not going to quit my job or anything. I'm going to keep
Right.
working,
Mhm.
but I can start doing something on the side to help that, and what's going to get me there. So what I did is I had two passions on that piece of paper. I have two other passions, and one
Okay.
is like feminism, empowering women, and the
Sure.
other one is also elderly rights. And so I
Yes.
needed a way to hit on all four, and this business really does that. Um,
So,
I used to have a Lean In chapter. So Lean In is an organization that was started by Sheryl Sandberg.
okay.
Uh, and that is also to empower women, professional development, all those kinds of things.
Sure,
And I used
sure.
to lead a
Okay.
chapter. And I thought, well, it really needs to reach more women because it was local in Ottawa, it was in person. So the reach is very small, but I was having all these professional women like business owners, executives in the public sector come and talk to these women about
Right,
their
right.
their career path. But I thought like more people need to hear this. Like
Yeah, amen.
there's
Yes.
such good messaging in there. So that's where this endeavor right now, this part of All Infinite World, which I call Empower, um, is taking place. And so I'm
Okay.
interviewing women, um,
Nice.
talking about their career path, their ups and downs, how they got to where they are now, and where they started, and how they did that, and the obstacles that they had to come across. And it's really to help women and girls just try and like see what's out there,
Right.
see what other women are doing, what they've gone through, what they can expect, and they'll see that most people are really just kind of going with the flow. There's a plan, but you're not always like
Yeah.
just going straight for it.
Right.
So I'm able to hit on that and really wanted to give women and girls the power to make their own decisions, informed decisions.
Sure. Yes.
Um, and then with that, 10% of profits are being put aside for organizations that support charities for elderly rights, animal rights, and the unhoused. And so I'm able to really like get all those together.
Uh-huh.
And it's in my mind, like I probably would have gotten there at some point, but it's thanks to that diary that I thought was so silly that I found when I was just cleaning up.
Yes. 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 And you were supposed to find it at that time. I mean, and the fact you
Yeah.
wrote that at age 10, that is neat. That yeah, I believe everything happens at the time it's supposed to, the way it's supposed to. And
Mhm.
I mean that. So I mean, how long have you had this business that you started? How
It's very young.
is it?
So it's
Okay.
only about a year or 2 years old.
Okay.
I was doing stuff in the background before, but I think
Sure.
we all have that little fear that holds us back until we
Oh
finally pull
yes.
the plug and
Yeah.
push that, incorporate button. So,
Exactly. Oh, and
yeah.
it is. There's definitely fear there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, your mind goes through all these things. What happens if I don't? And yeah. So what made you finally push that button?
Um, I was going through something. It was a fresh breakup, actually,
Okay.
and it was something that the breakup was a positive thing,
Okay.
and I was taking back my own power. And so,
Amen.
I
That's
was doing a
awesome.
lot of work for free for someone else for a while, and I thought, it's my turn.
Yep. Yes, you get to that point. Yes, I know what you
Yeah.
mean there. So okay. So they go to your organization. How do you help them, or how do you empower? I mean, with what you're doing here, how do you? I mean, women and maybe a little bit more background on what you're doing
Yeah, absolutely. So the Empower line of the business is going to be split into three different pieces, and
there.
two
Okay.
are in public right now. Um,
Okay.
so one is what I was kind of explaining. So interviewing professional women who have worked for at least 5 years,
Okay.
post high school or university or whatnot,
Sure.
um, and have worked on their career path. And so getting them to talk about like what it is they do, what they've done in the past, and really going into the nitty gritty of, is this something that a listener could see themselves doing or being interested
Right.
in? And if it's no,
Right.
that's okay. It crosses something off your list, at least for now,
Right.
because your
Right.
mind may change later. And so it's
Exactly.
really to get that information out there, to get their voices out there and to get all these different options out there. It's really important for women and girls, especially, to see others doing the work.
Yes. Yes.
Generally, you can't be what you can't see. And so it's really important to
I
have
agree.
those role models, which is how I refer to these women. They're role models
Yes.
to be put out there to look up to and kind of normalize
Sure.
not just the
Yeah.
kind of work they're doing, but their path. And I've spoken to so many women, just even setting up interviews. None of them have a typical career path. There is no
Okay.
typical career path.
True.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so, really, to help alleviate the stress that we put on ourselves, I don't think anyone's really even telling us this information right now of like,
I agree.
you have to pick one or you have to do one thing for the rest of your life. But it's so internalized in our society that we
It
just
is that.
assume that.
Yeah.
So that is one way. The other way that is public right now is apparel. So we have t-shirts,
Oh
sweatshirts,
wow. Okay.
yeah, clothing for kids,
Nice.
flip-flops, beach towels, you name it, it's there.
Cool.
And it's all with positive and empowering graphics. So,
Love it.
so things that kind of refer to like internal skills and powers, nothing superficial. And so
Okay.
it's just really to, to empower the wearer and say like it doesn't say I'm pretty, it says I'm powerful, or it says
Cool.
I am
Very nice.
mine, which is really important to have your ownership over your own self.
Yes.
um, that's the second way that is out there right now, and that's the major part of that 10% going to charities.
Okay.
And then the third part, which is going to come in the future because we're still building our community,
Sure.
is going to be virtual events. Now, this is going to
Oh
be a
wow.
way for the attendees to actually be able to interact and engage with these professional women that I'm interviewing. So they can ask them
Nice.
direct questions, they
Very
can
nice.
pick their brain a little bit. And so that's to come at some point in the future. And at this point, the interviews haven't been released yet, only
Okay.
several clips. I'm
Okay.
still working on the back end to
Sure.
edit these and get those out, but
Right.
those will be
Right.
available on YouTube. Our social media accounts have those clips,
Okay.
and not too far down the line after the interviews are released, they'll be turned into a podcast as well.
Huh. Very cool. That is
Yeah.
very cool. So a podcast, you don't have a podcast right now, or do you?
Not quite yet. It's in
Yeah.
the
Okay.
works. I
Okay.
just got the intro song back from this really talented musician who made that for me. So it's
Nice.
very exciting. It's coming there. It's just not quite out.
It's all a process, yes. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. That is so cool. So yeah, you really have a lot of irons in the fire there where people can um, find you. So how do they find you?
Social media mainly.
Okay.
So Instagram is the main account. It's
Okay.
AIW underscore empower.
Okay.
That's the main business account. But we also have, with the same handle, except not an underscore, it's a hyphen for
Okay.
Facebook as well as LinkedIn. So we're on
Okay.
those as well.
Awesome. Okay.
And through our website, um,
Okay.
which is allinfiniteworld.com/empower.
Okay. Very nice. Okay, and we'll put those in the show notes too, so people can find you
Perfect.
on that too. So are you working on a YouTube channel too?
I am, yes. So it's up, but there's nothing really there right now.
Okay, I
But
understand that.
the links are on the website. They're also going to be on a link tree on our Instagram
Okay.
account, so it will
Okay.
definitely be
Very cool.
accessible. Yeah.
Okay, going back to why do you think women, and well, men too, why do you think
Mhm.
we still think like it's 1950? Why do we think we have to? I mean, we have kids graduating here, men and women, that are just like it was when I graduated. It's like, well, there's so much more potential out there, but we're still
Mhm.
going to school, get the 4 year degree or whatever, and then go out there and more traditional. And it's just like I don't understand that in this day and age, with there's so many things, especially online. Why do you think our society, or what is your opinion on that? Why do you think we still do it that way so much?
I definitely think that societal pressure and culture still hasn't shifted, and Gen Z is really helping to kind of
Yeah.
bolster the opposition to that, which is really exciting.
Yes.
But we still have a lot of people at the top who are from perhaps other generations
Right.
or have had certain ways work for them, which is completely okay. Um, Not quite maybe comfortable with this shift, or needing maybe a little bit more information on it. And I found it in the past few years a bit more encouraging.
Right.
Um, Talking to managers and coworkers and whatnot, where they don't see a red flag when someone has moved around a lot on their resumes.
Right. Right.
And I
Yes.
think that's very encouraging. When
Me
I
too.
started out, I was in the same places for a while, but then I started moving around quite a bit because,
Okay.
if you want to move quickly, or if you're a quick learner, you want to take what you can get, you want to learn what you can, you want to
Exactly. Yes.
master it, and then you want more challenges.
Yes.
And so, but I used to get that message, as well as some of my friends who are of the same mindset of don't move around too often or too quickly, it's a red flag. And I can understand why. I can
Yeah.
understand that there's an investment in there.
Right.
However, as a manager myself, I look at it the opposite way. When someone
Hmm.
works for me,
Yes.
it is my job to, yes, have, get their outputs and whatnot, but it's my job to train them so that they can get promoted or leave to something else.
Right. Yeah.
That's my job. It's not
Right.
to keep them there.
Right.
It's to, prepare them for what else they want
Hmm.
in their future. So I think part of that shift is happening, but society as a whole, television, movies, what we see out there, and even like we're looking at our parents, we're looking at our grandparents, our aunts, our
Sure.
uncles, and we get that a lot, right? Because they want us to be
Right.
safe, they want us to be secure, have
Yep.
money, not have too many, risk-taking activities in terms of our careers, because that can mean that maybe we won't be able to feed ourselves, or
Right. Yeah.
it could put us
Exactly.
backwards, our retirement might be affected.
Yep.
But the installation of fear in people is actually holding us back in such a way that
It is.
there's so many burnout right now.
Oh
It's so
yes.
prevalent.
Yes.
And I myself have had three, pretty much directly related to how unhappy I was and realizing that my life wasn't going in a direction I liked,
Wow.
career wise.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it deeply affected even my work at the time, because you have to either step back, you have to think of how are you going to pivot and how are you going to go forward, because you just assume, well, I'm going to go in this straight line, and then when something happens to that, your whole world stops. But
Yeah.
if we were prepared for the potentials, or even have it be made acceptable that you're looking sideways or in different directions, then
Yes.
perhaps it wouldn't be such a blow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we were talking earlier, the best laid plans, and
Yeah.
but like you were saying, society. Well, I deal with a lot of talk to a lot of Gen Zers that have anxiety, and I feel
Mhm.
for them greatly, and or actually I deal with that, and then actually last week my wife and I were down in New Orleans, and there are so many people, so much potential being lost, so many homeless, so many people that are
Yes.
they're struggling on the streets, and it's just normal down there, and I hate to see that, and I it's just like I was telling my wife, it's like everybody says I wish somebody else would do it. Well, we are somebody else, and it's just I just there's got to be something out there. So how did you deal with that? If the three times, I mean, gosh, that just how do you think you deal with anxiety? Because some of these kids are really young kids, young adults are dealing with that,
Mhm.
anxiety. I mean, it's just I've been very fortunate. I have never dealt with that, thankfully. But I just think I don't know. In Canada, are there a lot of homeless people?
Yes, there's quite a fair amount. And I think it's probably along the same lines of a lot of it being tied to mental health, or
Okay.
drug use, which is a mental
Yeah.
health issue as well.
Right.
And the stigma we put on it, the way the resources are or aren't used,
Hmm.
um, and it's really tough. I think.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm sure in northern U.S. it's a bit of the same, but
Right.
with the temperature changes and whatnot, it's really
Yes.
not a great place to be, if
Right.
you're
The
having
cold.
housing issues.
Yep.
Yeah, and the same with the jobs. Like needing to have a bank account, needing to have a permanent address, and things that really just put the wrench in the wheels
Right.
for people to try and get out of a situation that they probably did not put themselves in for the most part. It doesn't,
Yep.
not not many people, I would say, strive to be in that kind of situation. And so
True. I
the
agree.
understanding, I think, from the wider public is definitely lacking.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that because down there it was just normal. They just walked around those people and it's just like, wow, when that gets to be the normal. I
Yeah.
mean, it just so I mean, okay, your organization, can it help women that are homeless?
For our particular purposes, I would say, in terms of encouragement, create a
Right.
community, it could.
Okay.
I would definitely point to other organizations
Okay.
if someone needed resources. Thankfully, in Ottawa, there's quite a few, which is fantastic.
That is very fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. So because the U.S. has really dropped the ball on that. I think in most cities. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been in a lot of cities, and New Orleans is the worst I've seen it. San Diego definitely has a problem too, and like a lot of cities, I believe. So, okay, so with your organization, what do you see like 5 years down the line? I mean, what's the future of what you're looking at for your organization and yourself?
Well, I'll start with the organization. So,
Okay.
in terms of the company, what I see in 5 years is really having kind of a mentorship relationship
Okay.
with a lot of the girls and women out there. So, yes, having those virtual events where they can talk directly to the women, but having a whole package, having a place where they can go and explore, not just listening to the women talk, but actually have resources and go and check
Right.
out, like, what is this job like?
Right.
Where in the world could I do this job?
Yep.
What does it mean to get the skills to do this job? What could I do with those skills if I decide I no longer like this? So they have
Hmm.
a more holistic um, view of where they might go, but also what
Okay.
could come afterwards. So you have a path, and then you have a journey ending at one point, but then beyond that, there's more. So there's never any place where you find yourself stuck. That is a huge goal for me, to really have that out there, so that no one feels like, I don't like doing this anymore, but I'm going to because I have no other options.
Mhm.
Or, I can't do this job anymore. I don't really know what to do. So I'm going to go, do something that's not related to my skills that I don't like, just to make money.
Right.
Really, to just make sure that women have the information that they need to move their life forward, or, horizontally, whichever direction is best for
Right.
them, that
Sure.
they have the resources to do that and the knowledge. We're lacking a lot of that. And I think for myself, being from a small town, that's what frustrated me the most. Is one of my dreams when I was in high school was to be a fashion designer. Once I realized it's going to be very, very difficult because of where I'm from and money wise and whatnot to go to school
Right.
for that, I gave up on that. But it's not impossible. I definitely could have gone
Right.
forward
Right.
to do that, but
Hmm.
because you're shown very little, it really changes things. And as much as people can say, like, but we
Yes.
see examples on TV, we see examples in movies or
Right.
on social media, even in high school, our brain is developed enough to realize what is real and what is not. And
Right.
so, unless we talk to real people,
Yep.
or hear from real people doing the work, we're probably not going to associate ourselves with those people. It's fantastic to hear from
Yep.
celebrities. It can be really inspiring, but
Right.
we don't put ourselves on the same page as them, um,
Yeah.
because
Right.
they've
Uh,
overcome, yeah, this
right.
mountain.
Obstacle. Yeah. Right.
Yes, that very few people can. So it's really different to hear it that way. So that is really one of the goals, to have this place
Hmm.
where women and girls can go and, like, really find things that they can relate to, or at least, like, get more information to make decisions that are right for them. Um, for myself as a person, in 5 years, I would love to be doing this full time. I'd love to be
Cool.
able to engage more of my time into this business. I have two other business lines that I want to work on at
Oh,
some
very
point in
awesome.
the future, and
Okay.
I would love to start working on those as well at some point.
Uh huh.
Um, but in the meantime, I've done one collaboration with a business in California who has
Nice.
programs, or like leadership programs for women. So I've done a
Oh, wow.
collaboration with them. I'd
Very
love to
cool.
do more of those, and
Right.
really connect with businesses that care about women and girls, and giving them more of the things that they need in life. I'd
Yeah.
love to collaborate more with them, because I think we have the same vision, and it'd be cool
Right.
to get
Win-win.
those forces together.
Yeah, no, that is so awesome. That's definitely a win-win. So would you, a fashion designer, do you design your own clothing line right now that you have for your business?
So I don't design the actual clothing
Okay.
because I actually I go through a fulfillment company and they print to order. So
Okay.
even though it's not part of my core passions, the environment is still really close to my heart. So I don't want to
Sure.
have warehouses full of clothes, and
Oh, I
I
hear
don't
you on
want things
that.
going
Yes.
in the landfills. I really don't want that. I thought if I was going to put a product out there, it had to be doing good.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm using them, and they have their own companies that they get their apparel from, and it's all high quality. So that makes me very happy. Some stuff is recycled material, some stuff is organic. So as much as possible, I'm using those, but I am creating the graphics. So
Very
that's
cool.
my part in that.
So that's a beginning there. So
Yes.
the fashion designer, that's awesome. That is so awesome. So okay, that's one thing I always ask. Okay, you wanted to be a fashion designer. Did you, when you were a child, have any other dreams you wanted to do? I mean, because most people don't ever, always have those dreams when we're kids. Most people either forget them or don't think they're possible.
I know.
And did you have any other ones?
The big one that I can remember from being a kid was I wanted to work at a pet shop because I loved animals so much.
They're so
And I
cool.
remember my parents saying like, okay, maybe you can find something else,
Yeah.
some other way.
I, I just like, yep, that's a nice one, but yeah, they going back to that where they want to make sure you're, successful and everything,
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah, and
parents do. So
exactly. And now as an adult, I think, well, of course, like as an animal lover, I wouldn't want to work in a pet shop necessarily because they're not all I guess following the rules. Some are, some aren't, and it'd be
true,
very difficult. And so pet shops, adopt, don't shop is very
yeah,
much
with the puppy mills and everything like that. Yes, yeah,
yes.
that's
So yeah, that with that in mind, but yeah, that was a big part. Now I'm thinking more um, along the adopt, don't shop line of eventually I would love to have a rescue. That would be
oh,
the
that'd
way
be
to
so
fulfill it.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that. I could see my sister doing that. She loves horses, so I could see her doing that too. But
Oh,
yeah, I can tell you love. Do you have any animals yourself?
I have a dog.
Okay, cool,
Yes, a
very awesome.
little Havanese named Kiwi.
Oh, I love
She's
that name too. Oh, that is so cool. So do you, I mean, so what are the things? Do you like to travel and do other things like that, or what are some of your passions?
I do love to travel. Since COVID, it's been a while. So I did travel
Yeah,
once since COVID, slowed down last
yeah,
fall.
yeah.
But now it's kind of balancing like, okay, which money do I put towards the business? Which money do I put towards
Uh-huh.
traveling? So
Right.
there's that. But I love to read. I love to go for walks and hikes, working out, those kinds of things. And I'm very
Nice.
excited. Last fall, I bought a stand up paddleboard.
Oh, I love that. So how did that go? I've tried that and I have not done well on that.
Well, I
So
haven't tried it yet because I got it in the fall and it was too late to go in the water.
okay.
So soon I'm going to take it out and I'm a bit nervous, but I'm really excited because the water is so close to my place and
Oh,
I just see
perfect.
people on there all the time and very excited to try that. So I like trying things like that where, hopefully I don't end up in the water, but I have a life jacket, so who knows.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I actually did water yoga the other day, which is similar. You stand up on a
Oh, wow.
board, and I was comical. I ended up under the board once, but
Oh,
I mean, unless you try it, you don't know. It might be your favorite thing. So,
yeah, who knows?
and I
That,
love kayaking and all that stuff. I mean, that's one thing. I also the mindset people when they get older, they don't try the new things, and I think that's so
yeah.
sad too. It's like, well, I'm too old. It's like, no, you're not. I mean, unless you have something physically or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, that sounds really cool. So you're really close to water. What is the terrain where you're at? Is it mountainous or
And so I'm kind of in a valley. So right now out my window, I can see Parliament Hill.
okay?
Um, and then behind that is actually Quebec. We're
Oh
very
wow,
on the border of Quebec, and so there's a river. And then beyond that is Quebec, and I can see all of the hills, so all the mountains.
beautiful.
And so we have a lot of rivers. We have this great big, I guess Ottawa is pretty well known for our canal. So it's this very
Okay,
long canal that goes through a whole large part of, I guess, southern Ontario. In
okay.
the winter, it freezes over. People skate on it for
Oh,
miles and
nice,
miles.
very nice.
Um, So we have that, and then there's a river that goes through a big part of the city. But I'm lucky that across the street there's a park, and beyond the park is the
Oh,
river, so I can
very
just get
nice.
in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
really, really beautiful. No, that sounds. So have you been? I'm sure you've been to the United States probably numerous times.
I've been as a kid, so I
Okay.
can't remember the last time I went. But we went to my parents took us to Disney World twice when I was a kid,
Ah, down in
which
Florida.
was
Okay.
amazing. But we drove, so
Oh
we
wow.
oh yes, my parents were big drivers, so we
Okay.
drove I think 3 days there, 3 days back, made a few stops, and
Uh huh.
it was so fun. Just
Yeah, that
getting
would
to
have.
see a whole lot of the route along the way and all these different
Yeah.
places you would never get to.
You would definitely see a lot of different areas and a lot of different terrain. And I mean, from Ottawa to Florida to Orlando, there. So, yeah, I love Florida, especially in the winter. And I'm sure our winters are milder than your winters.
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine. Do you ski or snowboard or anything like that?
I don't. I skied as a kid.
Uh
I
huh.
think we used to go like every winter when I was a like very young kid, and you have no
Okay.
fear at that point, right? You
True.
just kind of
You
like
don't. Yeah, you don't.
go, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And we didn't go anymore for a very long time, and then I think I was 15 or 16. My brother was going, and he thought like, oh, why don't you come with me? Bring my one a cousin who was skiing quite a bit, and
Right.
I hated it. I hated it because I was
Oh,
scared. I didn't
I can
remember how to
understand that. I mean,
ski.
me too.
Yes, doing the bunny hill and trying to do that, and then finally having to go and do the big hill.
Right. Yeah.
And I was terrified. I thought like I just want this to be done. I want to
That
be
would be me.
yeah, I want to be back at the lodge, and I was going so
Yep, that would
slow
be me
that people
too.
were just going past me. And finally I look back and there's a snowboarder coming down the hill too, and he looks scared as well. He's not going fast.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, okay, it's him and I. That's fine.
Right.
Um, but when you know what, a few minutes later, he ran into me.
Oh wow.
He took me out.
Oh
So
gosh.
all the two
Oh.
people on the hill, he takes me out. Um, so I made it down the hill and I stopped, and I've never gone back. I have no desire to go back. I
I
think I
wouldn't either.
belong at the lodge with the hot chocolate and the
Me
fireplace.
too. I agree with you 100% there. That is
Yeah,
definitely me. Yeah.
safe and sound, right?
Yes. No, I would definitely. I think the lodge is a very nice place to be. That's for
Yes.
sure. So, but and you were saying a little bit ago you like to read. So have you ever thought about writing a book?
Actually, I have. I'm actually working on it here and there, like when I have time and something comes to mind. I'm writing a book about what people go through in the patriarchy. So it's mainly stories from women, but there's also going to be
Okay.
stories from men in there of things they've
Okay.
encountered and gone through. I'm using some of my own as well.
Sure.
And I'm hoping to get a few professionals to come into the chapters and kind of comment on why this came to be and how is it's developed
Right.
in the patriarchy and how can we remove ourselves because it's education, right? Patriarchy
Right.
is not good for men or women or
Right.
no matter how you identify, it's really negative in
Yes.
society. So
I
I'm kind
agree.
of like tinkering away at that here and there. I'm
Okay.
picking at it and putting some stories in there. So that's one that I'm hoping to get out over the next few years that
Very cool.
I think would do a lot of good. I
Yes.
do have two published books under my name at this point.
Oh wow. Cool.
One is actually my thesis from university, so it's
Okay.
completely different because I took criminology, as I said. So
Okay.
it's my thesis on correctional officer stress. So that is
Oh
out
yeah.
there.
See that.
It's quite eye opening.
Uh huh.
And then the other one is a journal slash notebook slash coloring book that I put out there.
That's cool.
So
I like that. I love that.
it's kind of multi-purpose. So on the left hand side, you'll have a very light graphic that you can color in
Okay.
and with a feminist quote. And then on the other
Okay.
side, you have lined paper. So you can use it as absolutely anything at all that you need.
Very nice.
Um, and, I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, but I wanted this to be a keeper, a keepsake for people. So it's really high
Yes.
quality.
Very
The
nice.
binding's really good. The paper, the cover, everything's really like solid. So
Right.
very proud of that one too.
That is so cool. I love that. That's such a good interest. I mean, putting the coloring book with that. I mean, that is so
Yeah.
neat. So okay. So after you kind of got this going, would you ever do what that you're doing with women and girls with men and boys? Help them with their
Yes.
struggles?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it'd be fantastic. I think there's a lot of need for even just a place for people to talk. And I would need a few more experts, I think,
Okay.
to jump into that, because it's really not my world. I think there's a need for people who have studied it, especially in that kind of complexity, when you jump
Okay.
into the many things that can happen in someone's life, um, to try and disassociate yourself from a system like the patriarchy that benefits you but also is very bad for you, and that can be really difficult
Yeah.
to understand and wrap your head around. um, so I think that would definitely be needed. But in terms of even having the ability to look at all these different kind of role models and have the chance to speak to people in a
Yes.
mentorship capacity, I think it's really important
Yes.
for everyone.
I definitely agree with you. I think there's such a need for that. That's for sure. So okay. So somebody getting out of school, somebody that's kind of they got their degree, but they're kind of lost. What advice would you give to them?
Oh, so many advice, so many pieces of advice. My first bit of advice, I think, would be, if you have interest in something
Mhm.
or a few different things, but you're not sure, is definitely to reach out and talk to people,
Okay.
um, which can be very difficult. I understand.
True.
At that age, I would have been probably too shy
I
to
would.
do
Me
that,
too.
or
Hmm.
bother people,
Hmm.
which is what I'm trying to alleviate, is to have that
Right.
one place where people can go.
Right.
But if you know, when I'm not up and running completely yet, which, hopefully in a few months, a few
Yes.
more will be
Yes.
on there. But in the meantime, is you know there are a lot of associations now, like professional associations,
Okay.
that will respond to people, and that's really one good way to go about it.
Okay.
Sometimes they even have resources, and that's a good start. But
Nice.
you
Okay.
want to you want to try and see if, even the work culture is good for you.
True.
That's
Yeah.
a
Very
really
true.
big part of it. Um, and sometimes you just need to do something else in the meantime. It's okay to try something else while you're trying to make your mind, if it's going to be a really big decision. But at the same time, um, there's no shame in also just trying it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you keep moving on.
Right.
Getting your foot in the door somewhere, can be really beneficial, even if you don't like it, because you will gain some skills
Yep.
that you can move on from. If you're in a place where you're not gaining skills, that's where I'd be more concerned.
Okay, very nice. Because I mean, I remember getting out of school, and now it's much different now. But being lost, I mean, you have your degree, and it's like, what's next? So that must be your pup in the background.
It is,
Awesome. Uh, so what's him or her's name?
a kiwi.
Oh, that's right, Kiwi. Yes, I like that name.
Lebanese.
So that's awesome. So okay. So what else would you like to tell the audience today?
Well, I think it's really important that, you do things that fit your life.
Yes.
So as much as we've talked about, like, the feeling that you have to pick one thing, or you have to just like buy in for your life and that's your one direction, um, to be okay with perhaps not everything being mapped out, and to see what comes your way and explore that. Some of the most interesting things that I've done, I think, is because I just said, okay, well, let's try this.
Right. Right.
Or, I have some time left at work, or I'm out of tasks to do and just taking on something else. Um, and also letting my mind wander, of the
Okay.
things that I've had, that I think, I think this would be really good. I think
Okay.
this could really benefit either like the office I'm working in, the department, or, whether it's larger than that as well. And just starting to work at it, I think it can be really, it can help sustain maybe a part of you that's not perhaps being fulfilled.
Good.
So it can be good to like take it upon yourself sometimes to try that, and maybe you'll discover a new hobby or a new side gig that you never thought you could actually look
Exactly.
to.
Right. Right.
Um, I once had this really big idea at work, and at first it was really well received,
Okay.
and they really wanted to implement it. It would have made a great big impact. Um, and as time passed and I kept working on it, management changed, and
Oh.
they didn't see the maybe the worth. but also didn't take the time to meet with me and just kind of kiboshed it. And so that
That's
was a
too bad.
very, yeah, that was a very negative time, I think, in my life.
Right.
Um, but it also helped to kind of propel me to what I'm doing now of,
Okay.
well, they're not seeing it. Well, I can still do it, but not in
Right.
this
Right.
capacity. Change the impact into something else. And so, if you have some really good ideas, people will sometimes not see it because it's new,
Yep.
it's different. Perhaps their mind doesn't work the same way, or they would, they
Correct.
think it's
Yeah.
not going to work out. Don't listen to that.
Amen.
Don't,
Yes.
take it in, sure, and be prepared for those negative things maybe
Yeah.
happening, but everything's impossible until it's not, and everything's a
Exactly.
bad
Yes.
idea until it's
Yep.
out there and it's working well. So just go for it. Be prepared for the unexpected. Keep yourself open, and just don't listen to people if they're poo-pooing on your party.
Exactly. Yes.
If it's a good idea, go for it anyway. Don't let
Yeah.
people stop you.
Yeah, because everything is possible, and even if
Yeah.
they don't see it, I mean, it is possible. And yeah, just for one thing, if you don't try it, you always wonder if it had been, what would have
Mm.
come from that. You need to take the action and go forward, and just show them that it was possible. show them
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
show them that yes, this was possible, even if you didn't see it. So no, that is so cool. So anything else? Or I'll end the podcast there, unless you have something else you want to add for our guest today, or would you be interested in coming back for a follow-up podcast down the line?
I would absolutely be interested in coming back. I think what you're
Okay.
doing is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
And
I would be.
I'd love to put an offer out there for all your listeners. If you go to our website, you can get 10 free phone backgrounds, and they're just inspiring graphics and
Cool.
sayings on there so that, if you need a little inspiration in your day, you can just look at your phone, but they're free.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that idea too. No, I love what you're doing too. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
there is such a need out there. So many people and it's just a need for it, just in general.
Mhm.
And that is so great. And I look forward to you coming back on the next having a follow up podcast. And thanks for the offer for the guests. And yeah, I think we'll just leave it there. Thanks for joining us today. And I really appreciate that. And we'll look forward to the next time. And until then, take care and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
Well, thank you.